So from the little harmonised scale bit, I'm just going to play slowly just up from that point to where we're up to. Okay, and then another one of my favourite parts. We play a 10 on the first string, which is a D, then a 12 on the first string, and it's a semitone bend. It's only a small bend, so you're making the 12 sound like a 13. First string's hard to bend, so you have to put a bit of pressure there to actually even just bend a semitone. So you put those together, it's... And then we play the 12 without bending, 10 again, 13 on the second string, 10 on the first string again. Repeat those last two notes. So that was... And then play the 13 on the second string again, leave it ringing, and then play a 12 on the third. And pick the 12 again on the third. So that whole phrase. Keep your fingers where they are. And then we do the same bend we did a minute ago, where you're basically playing these two strings but bending the third one up a tone. And then let that come down. And then play the 12 on the third string. And into a really cool bit where it needs to be third finger this time on the 13, second string, slide to 15. And then whilst that's there and ringing, play the first string 13 with your first finger. So think of this as like a 3-note segment, which you then repeat, but the difference is it's not a slide this time, it's a hammer-on. So still 13, 15, 13, but we go. And the best way to do that is flatten this finger over both strings, first and second strings. Pick the second string, hammer on to the 15, take your finger away and play the first string. So we've just done. And then you do that same hammer on again, exactly the same thing, same 3 notes. So it's hard to tell that that's a slide, that first one. You have to listen to it quite carefully to hear that it's a slide followed by 2 hammer-ons, because it's the same notes. Then you play the 15 on the second string, pull off to the 13. With your second finger, play a 14 on the third string. Go back to the 15 on the second string, back to the 14 on the third, and then play 13 on the second, sorry. So from the slide it's... Same position, play the 15 on the second string, let it ring just for a second and then pull off to the 13. And as soon as you've done that pull off, you then play the 14 on the third string again, play the 13 on the second string again, like this. That's up to speed. Which leads neatly into the next one, which is still in the same position. Third string 14, second string 15, third string 14, second string 13, then 15. So that's all reasonably easy because it's in one position. It gets slightly harder here. Play the 14 on the third string again, followed by first string 13, then 12. So I'm using second finger here like I just have been, but then I use first finger for that note and for that one. So we go. And back to second string 15 and third string 14. So that's... And then there's a rake. Now if you've looked at my other lesson videos on Mark Knopfler solos, you'll be familiar with rakes and the way he plays them. Briefly, in case you haven't seen them, it's It's usually 3 strings, and I think he uses thumb, then first, then second finger, third string, second string, first string usually, and kind of roll. You keep the shape. You don't really move the individual fingers much. You just kind of roll the shape like that. You get this. But the sound we want on this one is a 14 on the third string, a muted second string, and then a 17 on the first string. So it's basically this, really slowly. So it sounds odd that slow. So I'm using my second finger to just touch that second string. So it's muted. And the 14, you can barely hear this note, but it's so quick. I think it is in there, but it's so quick. The note you really hear is the 17. You don't really particularly hear the 14. But so it sounds like this, up to speed. And then follow that with 2 15s on the first string. So if I just play the sort of sliding, then hammer-on phrase up to that point. Okay, then possibly the most awkward part of the solo, but one of the best bits. Now this was hard to work out which strings and which position he's in for this. I think I've got it right, but it's definitely the right notes anyway. You've got to play a 12 on the first string, hammer on and pull off to 15. I'd probably use third finger for this. Like this. It's quite fast, so I only picked the string once, but I've got 3 notes. And then second finger on the 13 on the second string, and then slide to 15. So it's jump down to second string, 10th fret, play that note, and then play a 13. So like that. So put those together. It's so that jump down to that 10th position is the awkward bit. And then we go to third string, play 9 to 12. 4th string 10. So that's. And on the end of that, you can barely hear these notes. There's 2 notes, very staccato, offbeat, kind of syncopated notes, which is a 10 on the third string. Staccato short notes, you know, real short, you can barely hear them. And then a 13 on the second string. So if I put those on the end of that phrase, it's. Those notes really aren't that important, those last 2. And then another tricky bit, I'm afraid, these 2 phrases here are the hardest parts, the bit we just did. I think they are anyway. This part it was hard to work out, and it's quite hard to play exactly how he did. I wouldn't worry about being too accurate with this, but I'll show you what it is. Cover the 13th fret, first 2 strings with your first finger. Play those 2 strings like this. And then put third finger on second string 15. So leave this one where it is. Third finger just on the second string 15. So now we've got 15 and 13. Play them again. So it's. And then you play the 13 on the first string. And then go like this. Now this is really part of a B flat chord. If you think of a B flat chord there. We've got to play the second string 15 with the third finger, followed by the third string 15 with the second finger, but let them ring like this. So I'll just put that little bit together. It's slowly, it's like this. And then straight after that, we play the 13 on the second string, 15 on the second string. Flatten that one down to now play the 2 together, so you've got 15 and a 13 like we had before. So I put all that together. And then very faintly, there's a 12 on the third string, a 13 on the second string, played like a chord, so they kind of ring. You play the third, then the second string. It's pretty faint, that. A lot of these notes that I'm saying are very faint, you can barely hear. They're not important, you can kind of miss them out, but those two I would try and get those in. I think they kind of do a job. It's hard to describe what it is. If you listen to the song, listen for them and you'll hear what I mean. But I think they kind of need to be there even though they're quiet. So from the beginning of this awkward bit, it goes. Again, just hinting at the chords. That's part of a C chord, and it must be a C chord he's playing over. I haven't even checked that it's a C chord or thought about it as I'm saying it. I just know it is because that's why he's playing those notes. It's got to be. And then it goes into a really cool bit. It's probably the bit that most people like the most in this solo. It sounds difficult. It's not as hard as it sounds. I think it's easier than the bits we've just done there. So we play 13 on the first and second strings again. Cover both with that finger. And play second string and then first string. And then slight pause, and then you play those two again, followed by the second string again, like this. And then little finger, keep that one there, little finger adds on to the 17, play that note and pull off to the 13. Then play second string and first string again. So that whole thing there is. And then do the pull off thing again, but 18 this time, so it's quite a big stretch. So 18, pull off to 13. Play the second string, play the first string, both 13s, and then repeat it again, but this time with the 17 again. So I'll just play that whole little phrase up to speed. And then slowly. And that leads straight into a slightly awkward one. With these phrases, you know, take them and practice them. If you haven't got the speed on them, practice them individually, obviously. So you, like that one. Yeah, try and get that clear and fast. Yeah, it's literally that fast. So it might take a little bit of practice. So then straight into this next bit, you play a 15 on the first string, probably third finger, well definitely third finger, and then play the 13 on the first string with your first finger, hammer on and pull off to the 15, and then slide to a 12, like this. And then second finger plays the 13 again on the first string, first finger plays the 12 again on the first string, little finger on the 15 on the second string, and then the 14 on the third string with your third finger twice. So I'll play that slowly, that whole phrase. And then there's another position change. Now I've seen other people doing covers of this and lessons on it as well actually, and I don't think they're playing this bit in the right place, but again, put in the comments if you think this is wrong. But these notes can be played in different places, but I think he's playing here. He's going into this shape, which is an 18 on the second string and a 19 on the third. So it's this little shape here. And what he does is play the third string, and as he's sliding, so he's kind of he's in this position, and he slides up to that 19, but pick the string midway through the slide like this. Leave that finger there. Put the other one on the first finger on the 18 on the second string, and pick that note, and then pick the third string again, second string again, third string again, second string again. So it was, and then third string again on the end. And then we play the 18 again on the second string, but take the second finger out of the way. Play that note, and then 2 20s with your third finger, second string. So up to speed that bit is. And then straight away follow that with second string, 17, 18, 20. So I'd use these 3 fingers. and play that twice. And then pick the 20 again, pick it once more and bend up to a 22. Probably a bit of vibrato there as well. So that whole sequence is. And then back to that little shape we were just doing, which was the 18 and the 19, second and third strings. Play the third string 19, second string 18, and then third string 19 again, but put a bit of vibrato on this. Okay. And then you play the 18 on the second, 19 on the third again. And you do it again, but play the 18 twice. So that's. And play the 18 twice again. Move back to 17, play it once. And then play 18 again with second finger. This is all second string. And that's the kind of the end of the solo, but there's like a little piano arpeggio thing that comes in that's really nice, like over a few chords. The piano's doing this fast arpeggio thing. You'll know what I'm talking about because you probably know the song well. And so the guitar stops at that point, but then he does two little phrases just almost as an afterthought, and he does tend to do that sometimes. I really like these little bits. You think the solo's finished and then there's just a cool little bit that he adds on the end. Okay, so there's a bit of a big pause here, but the little phrase that comes next, there's a 10 on the second string. That's that A note we kept doing earlier. Very faint, you can barely hear it. And then you play 11 on the second string, pull off to the 10. Those aren't faint, they're proper notes. Hop across to a 10 on the fourth string, back to the 10 on the second string, and then an 11 on the second string. So that's. Now that is awkward, and I think I'd probably do what I just did then actually. Jump across to this note, but rather than jumping back, I'm sort of jumping part way, but I'm flattening my finger down because it's so fast. I'm not going to be able to hop across in time and everything. So it's, and the important note is the 11 that you're heading for anyway. Leave that finger there for the next phrase. And do you remember the B flat shape I was talking about earlier, which was this? And we used the little triad part, the middle part of it. Well, it's that shape. So you hold that. So this finger's already there anyway. Put the other two on, so it's 12 on the third string. Sorry, 12 on the fourth string. 10 on the third string. And then you've got the 11 on the second. And this is a rake, and it's another one of those Knopfler rakes, thumb first, second, or with a pick, just do a pretty quick sweep across those three strings. It's fourth, then third, then second strings, the ones these were on. But the note we really want to hear is that 11 on the second string, not these. They're just like part of an effect. This is the important note. So you go. And part of the way you do that is you do it fast with this hand turning, but also you take these two away just after they're played like this. So they don't really ring out. It's not like this. And after that we go to a 10 on the second string, so first finger. And then third string, 12, then 10. Both picked. And then a 10 on the second string. If you want to be absolutely exact, bend this down a tiny bit. So it almost goes out of tune, but that's probably more detail than you need. And then we play a 12 on the third string, 10 on the third string, hammer on to 12, and the last note is 10 on the third string. So from the rake, that goes slowly. So the whole solo. Any questions, please put them in the comments. It might take a little bit of work, but I don't think it's his hardest solo. I think it's one of his best solos. I think it's an amazing solo, and I'm sure most people would agree. It's just a brilliant solo. As always, yeah, click like if you like this one, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want to suggest any other lessons you'd like to see, like Knopfler things or other stuff, then please do in the comments and I'll see what I can do. Okay, thanks.